Hey guys, this is Jay. Welcome to episode 38 of the Atlanteans. I'm here with Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Good, Jay. Excited to be here. No painting for me tonight, but making some progress. Continuing to make progress on my Scuttlebutt, so pretty excited about that.
Yeah, no painting for me
You saw some of
either.
the mock-ups. I think he's going to look pretty sweet. You've
Yeah.
been painting up a storm. You've been all in on those Gravediggers.
I have. I was talking to Alec, and he basically suggested that, and I basically asked him if he thought I should like do what I normally do and blaze out and paint all my get my army to playable before going back and starting to finish stuff for Gravediggers, or if I should sort of focus in and focus on finishing things and not worry about them being Grave Primer for a while. And he told me that he thought I should do getting the army to a playable level. And so I've been doing that, and I'm 50% done with playable.
Yeah, it's incredible, and they're not easy. It's a lot of models, and they're not easy, right?
And they have a lot more detail. I keep finding more detail to them, both in rules and in painting.
Signarin loves to bring a grenade and an ammo pouch and a backpack and all this shit to battle.
So you would not believe how complex the riflemen are, because the riflemen are also the mechanic unit for Gravediggers. And so there's a bunch of riflemen with they all have mechanic wrenches, they all have rope. There's one mechanic that has screws and a powered screwdriver and a fuel tank. And then the two machine gunners in the unit also have spare ammo clips and extra equipment that looks like the other guys use because they don't have the mechanic role. I mean, it's crazy. The unit is so, and then the Trollkin sniper on top of it is crazy. So yeah.
Oh yeah, because there's a sniper in that unit too.
So the officer for the rifleman unit is, remember in Signar and Mark III there was a Trollkin sniper unit?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He is the Trollkin sniper guy is now the officer for the riflemen in Gravediggers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like that a lot. How does it feel to be painting Jax again?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. Everything you wanted. You missed. Yeah. Is that the first thing you did?
I painted the first thing I finished. So I base painted the command starter, including Plugger. Plugger was the first thing I painted. But the first thing the only thing I've actually fully finished is Hasker, Buck Hasker. He's pretty cool. I like who he is. I like his fluff. He seems really interesting. And then I painted the rest of the guys in the command starter, and weirdly, I noticed comparing the photos of the command starter to the models that I had, there are so many they all still have tons of little details, but they're different than what's on the box art than what's on the actual models in a lot of cases. They have wrapping.
I hearing about that a little bit, right? It's the prototypes that they were painting didn't actually end up being the models that were in production.
And it's weird. I mean, it's a common thing especially in 3D printing, for them as they're doing test prints and then taking those to the final production models that they can put out and guarantee are gonna be successful when they print. Little things will disappear, or more complex shapes might become more simple shapes and stuff like that. That's pretty common. But for example, the leader of the Rowdies unit has a red bandana that is around his head, and and then it had this in the models on the box has this big tied knot and poof of ends sort of on his shoulder, and the final model has the bandana on top, wrapped around his head, but then no knot and no bandana. It's just a headband around his head.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And then
he's lost a bunch of random things. Yeah.
All the guys in all the Rowdies, instead of having a glove on their hand, they have wrappings on their hands, and on their arms and things. And in the production models, it's basically a fingerless glove.
Okay. But now it's like bandages?
It was bandages, and now it's fingerless gloves.
Okay. Well, I mean,
And,
I
like-
like fingerless gloves more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah.
a weird thing to have change, right?
Details
I
on their
wonder if they
grenades
found
are
out-
different, and yeah, it's very interesting comparing the two pictures and being like, well, I need to paint this detail, it's not there. I need to paint this, it's not there, or it's different,
Yeah.
or yeah.
I love this aspect of painting where you're like,
Yep.
you know, you see the studio model and you're like, okay, whatever, it looks fine. And then you're like,
Right.
you're trying to paint it your own, and you're like discovering what things are as you paint it.
Yeah.
And you like, you know, sometimes you paint things the wrong color.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a guy who had a really nicely painted Firequill, but he definitely got the dude's shirt confused with his belly. And like, I mean, I felt that like when I was
Yeah.
painting him too, I was like, is this the belly? Is this the shirt? I don't know. He just leaned in, he painted out all his belly. Like, but, yeah, it's like one of those things when you're painting, right? Like, you know, what
Yeah.
details are actually what, and then when the picture is different, it's this whole other loop.
And like,
right?
what details you choose to pick out compared to what details you choose to just leave the color of the undersuit or whatever, or the other elements around it. Like, there's definitely on some models, some like shin pads that I pick out because there isn't other details other places, and so I pick those out so that there's some variance in color. Where on like the rifleman unit, I left it just the base gray that the pants and the undersuit is around it, because there's so many other little details everywhere else all over the
much
model.
other stuff to do.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's an important choice, especially when you're trying to paint with like a little sense of speed, right?
Yeah.
Like you just,
Yep.
I don't know. It's just exhausting to choose a color for this and a color for that. Like, you know, make it all the
Yeah.
same color. Or bring some of the higher, you know, do some highlighting and shading and whatever.
Yep.
But not everything needs to get its own special color.
I agree with that. All right, so we should let you guys know that Alec is on a little bit of a hiatus with us. He's had back surgery this week. He's doing great. It actually didn't have to have. It wasn't as extreme as it needed to be. They had planned it to be. And he's healing good. We've talked to him. He sent us a picture of himself today, looking strained, but
Looking
exhausted.
like he just got done with surgery, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep. But he's doing good, and he'll be back sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm really happy things went well for him. He said he's already feeling a lot better
Yep.
in his hands and stuff. So
Yeah, he went home
we
the
miss him.
day of his surgery.
He's-
So yeah.
he's still got a bunch of content stored. So if you check out his
Yep.
his YouTube channel, I think he's still going to be releasing videos. So
Yeah, I think he had. I recorded one with him last week. And I think it was like he had 7 in the can or something like that. So
Oh my gosh.
and one did come out today. I did watch it. So
dude's a beast, and he's planning on
He
coming
is.
to Nova.
yeah, which is insane.
We're excited to see him there. Yeah, I think it's a little bit insane, but you know, I'm happy
Yeah.
always happy to see my buddies.
Absolutely.
He introduced me to, what did he introduce me to last year? Something with tequila and a lime.
I have no idea, but
No,
yeah.
this is a thing. I'll Google it real quick, but yeah,
yeah, you're good.
I'm sure I'm due for another one next time I see him. Oh, it was a tequila shooter. I think that's what it
Tequila
was.
shooter. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
I wasn't familiar with it either. You drink some tequila, and then I don't know, there's something with a lime and like some salt.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a common way of drinking
doing.
tequila. I mean, that's how you take a tequila shot. You drink tequila. You put a lime in your mouth. You have salt on your hand, and then you lick your hand.
Yep. Yes. This.
Yeah.
They made me lick my hand. I was like, pretty sure you're trolling me. Like this
that's
isn't
how I-
really a thing, but nope.
That's how I drank it in college and after, before I stopped drinking alcohol. So
Oh man, Jay, you would love that. I told Rory I was podcasting tonight with Mr. J, and she had said, "Is Jay coming? Is Jay coming over?" And I was like, "No, maybe another time, little one." But she definitely remembered you. I thought that
all
was
right,
fun.
well that's awesome.
So our main topic for the night:
Fluff and Fane.
Fluff and Fane. Yeah.
So, what'd you think
let's
of
start
the?
with Fluff.
You want to start with Fluff? You don't want to start with Fane? Okay, we can start with Fluff. I'm good with that.
I'm like kind of more interested in Fluff. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you more interested?
I mean,
in?
so
Yeah.
let's first things first. How have you? did you watch either or both of the streams that SFG did over the last week? Friday for Warmachine 3D and Tuesday for Fane.
I'm terrible. I watched a little bit of the Fane one, but I didn't finish it all. So tell me about him. What happened?
So the Friday stream, I mean, first let me say, and the reason I sort of brought these up as first before we talk about other things, was because it's cool to see SFG trying to stream more like Privateer did back during Mark III. I think that it really engages with the community. It really helps get the word out there and is positive in every way for them to do that. I think it's a great thing, and they should work on doing it more because they struggle.
Oh, did they? I love how much they talk to us. I think it's a great strength of the company. It feels really good.
I agree.
And I did see them going live. I was just like working, and I had it going on a little bit, but I was like, I can't do both. So there were some technical difficulties in the beginning.
Not so much. I mean, a little bit in the second one, but the podcast on Friday, I thought it was supposed to be about the 3D printed models that are coming soon. The new Grimkin terrain that's coming out, and some of the special edition models that they showed off. And it turned into two guys rambling about fluff, but not like mainstream fluff, like random little bits of facts in the background. And it to me, it was extremely boring, and I turned it off. After they showed me like most of what was coming, I turned it off because it was extremely boring.
Oh, well, I'm curious about little tidbits of fluff, but
it was supposed to be about the 3D printed stuff that's coming out and how it relates to the armies and things. And they ended up talking about like the house's rules and fluff, some of the random fluff behind Grimkin that doesn't really even come into effect in the current meta. So I don't know. But I found it pretty boring. The Tuesday video was better. I think they made a mistake, though, because in the start of the Tuesday video about Fane, they basically ran a video about the box set that just came out, and not the new stuff that they were there to talk about. And so it was Ashmail's box and what Ashmail's box is about, and not the box that was releasing that day, and not the new stuff that they spent the rest, like the additional hour talking about. So I don't know. I mean, it was cool.
Weird,
they had some more. Go ahead.
I mean, it's a little bit strange. It's not. Maybe it was what they wanted to do. I don't know. I mean, I'm still excited to hear from them. I thought it was really cool. Loxam was on.
And they had a Q&A that they they ran live after they were done talking about Fane. And the new Fane stuff sounds really cool. And they answered a variety of questions, not just stuff about Fane, and they confirmed some things that are real and that have sort of been talked about, but not really that were talked out in stuff that, like, because there was like a Q&A at Adepticon. I mean, you were at Adepticon that happened after the keynote.
And
that wasn't televised.
EU Iron Gauntlet, the EU Lock and Load.
And at the EU Lock and Load as well, that wasn't televised, and they talked about, yes, Menoth is coming. Yes, we're going to start seeing more stuff.
We're going to start seeing Control, right?
Yeah, they talked about like when stuff is releasing. They talked about the Kithgard's King Colossal model. And when it was releasing, the Fortress King. And then they talked about, they confirmed on air that the 80 mil for Old Umbry is Dragos. Drago.
Okay.
And
Did they tell you
just
anything
said,
about it? I know you're dying to learn about that. guy.
they said that the rules are still in play test, which is why he's been delayed being put on pre-order. He was supposed to be pre-ordered at the end of July and available in August, and now it looks like he's been pushed a little bit. But he's taken longer to play test than they were expecting. So sort of what it sounded like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He wasn't. Yeah, maybe production stuff too. Who knows? I mean, there's so much demand for Fane. Like maybe it's backing stuff up.
I mean, Fane, Kithgard. I mean, all Kithgard isn't even out yet, so.
Yeah, it's crazy. I still have like 0 games into Kithgard. I mean, I played Tony, I guess, once or twice at like 50 points, but.
Yeah, it's nice having a regular Kithgard player, Dennis, who joined at the start of the Journeyman League. It's been nice to play into them. I think he's very close to starting to have a winning schedule. He's still losing to inexperience effectively, but he understands how the army plays, and he's still been playing the same caster for the whole time. So when he can like switch to Stormclaw, or one of the other casters, and maybe exploit more of what he wants to play, how he plays better. He's been playing the starter box caster for 6 weeks or 7 weeks now. So
yeah, I mean, it's smart to like keep grinding the same caster, right? And then you get that wonderful thing when you switch casters, which is you get a whole new bag of tricks to enjoy.
Right.
Also, just a whole new learning curve too, right?
Yep. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the fluff. So what about Scuttlebutt's fluff did you love? Because I know that Scuttlebutt's fluff is totally like right up your alley.
Yeah. Okay. So, should I? What did I?
How do you want to approach it?
I won't retell it. But
yeah,
what I would say is, one thing that I thought was sweet is that it's like, I think the game has moved a little bit away from like a character Jack associating with one warlock, but it's pretty clear from the fluff that Scuttlebutt is Firequill's war beast. Right?
I think it's interesting that they're sort of, especially with the 80 mils, they're sort of assigning character beasts to us. I mean, Scuttlebutt is, and we're gonna talk about Bandit in a second, and Bandit is Jake's character Jack in no way or form, but there isn't a thing you're losing out on like there has been for character Jacks in the past when taking this with any caster.
Right?
Yeah. But absolutely, Scuttlebutt belongs to Firequill.
Yes, and Firequill feeds him like special eels. And like, I thought that was hilarious.
From Caspia.
He like domesticated him, right? Like, it's some combination of his warlock powers plus his like, Firequill like sleuths around and finds like, he does like investigations and finds like, Scuttlebutt keeps attacking these eel deposits, those ships that have all these eels on them, and so he like gets a bunch of the eels. It's ridiculous.
It's hilarious because he's like, I do this investigation, and it turns out that the 9 ships that he's attacked, their last port of dock before they came back to the Kithgard Cove, was in Signar at this specific place buying these specific jellied eel snacks, and Scuttlebutt has been smelling them and breaking through the hulls of the ship to get to them, and then also eating some of the crew.
Just cause.
Just cause.
One thing that I thought was really like interesting to me. Well, and so I've been playing Scuttlebutt with Firequill, which I assume I'm not the only person who's tried that. But so that made me feel cool about that choice. I also learned though that Firequill is afraid of Abyssal Kings. Like Abyssal Kings.
No, Scuttlebutt. Scuttlebutt is afraid.
Is afraid of Abyssal Kings.
He's
like,
not
Abyssal Kings snack on Scuttlebutt's like species. I guess he's a treat for them.
And part of the negotiations from Firequill to get Scuttlebutt to work for him is Firequill removed a tooth from one of the Sea Kings or whatever. What are they called? Abyssal King. He removed Abyssal King tooth from Scuttlebutt's hide that was causing him pain. Part of the negotiation.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I played them together, and like reading that made me think maybe I shouldn't play them both in the same list. I don't think Scuttlebutt would like
I don't think he. It'd be. I think it'd be funny if he had animosity to them.
Oh, I think so too. It's just it's hilarious because I'm playing them both. Like I know there's a Bugatti Bomb list that people are running around playing both of them. Like it's not very Fluff appropriate, you know. If you ask me, story makes that pretty clear. Oh yeah, and so there was one part. I'll tell you. I have a little bit of headcanon about Scuttlebutt, but
okay.
The official canon is that an Abyssal King like ate Scuttlebutt's like left arm.
Yeah, he escaped.
Claw off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he escaped, and so they attach a gun there now, and he really likes that.
He grew a little claw back, and it was like deformed, and so he was hiding it, and then.
Oh man.
And then it was like embarrassing to him, and so he would just walk around with one arm and he'd hide his other arm. And Firequill saw it and offered him this tri-cannon to and he sort of hides the little claw in the tri-cannon, and that's like his new thing now, and how he like presents himself. And he loves shooting the gun supposedly and blowing people up with it.
And okay, so my headcanon was that he's actually like a mud crab or like a fiddler crab, where they only have the one big claw. Because he kind of fits into that too. But no, I agree. It's fun to learn the actual reason. Remind me, I've forgotten. There's something about how the pigs get chosen to like ride on his back. It's like, so who can breathe, who can hold their breath the longest or some shit like that.
Are you going to? Well, that's part of it. That's how the lighthouse keeper gets selected. Is he's the one that's most comfortable riding around on his back and who can hold his breath the longest for when he goes underwater.
Ridiculous. Very Brinebloods.
Are you gonna? So one of the things I noticed in your pictures that you sent me while you were trying to pick stuff recently, are you gonna put pigs on him, or are you gonna sort of leave them off?
I definitely won't have pigs. I may add frogs. I'm undecided. Okay. I'm leaving that for later.
Yeah.
I am going to theme him around like the bullcroaks have like a sacred flame that's like very important to them, and they carry it from like site to site, and he's going to be the bearer of the sacred flame. Like that's my that's my.
Does it burn underwater?
Yeah, it must. It's really good flame, Jay.
Yeah,
it's really good flame. That's my re-envisioning of him to fit my like headcanon and my bullcroak centric Brinebloods. But yeah, that's how I'm doing it. Tell me about Bandit. I didn't read the Bandit story, so I want to hear about it.
So Bandit, the Bandit story is kind of interesting. The thing about it that I really enjoyed was that there's definitely a sense of for those that don't know, Bandit was the started out as a Charger light warjack that Jake's was assigned as her first warjack after she completed her warcast training and became a journeyman. And so she's had him since the very beginning. It was the very first jack she has ever controlled. He's been with her the whole time. Normally, so once she finished her training, which was, if you've played the video game that was out in the past, is basically the story of the video game. But she basically had to fight her warcaster master, who was killed by the Butcher, and reincarnated by Crix, and twisted by Gorshade.
Right?
Sturgis, yeah. He was twisted by Gorshade after being reincarnated. And so she had to sort of fight him and destroy him effectively to prove herself as a... So her test of becoming a warcaster was pretty intense.
It's pretty harrowing, yeah.
Yep. Bandit was there through all of that as her... And he sort of developed almost like a bodyguard feeling towards her and would protect her on the battlefield and step in the way of hits and basically
a guard dog almost
like a guard dog. Yeah. I mean, but he's a shooty charger jack, and she's a duelist melee ranged caster. So
yeah, remember she used to like in Mark II, like she wanted to get in the thick of it, right? Like,
right.
She wanted to be in the middle of things. I mean, she still can.
Very much, sort of does now. So the other really cool thing about her and him is that they've been in the army together for 30 years. So where they are right now with in the Warmachine story anyways, she is now the commanding officer of the Gravediggers.
Oh, I mean, she's after 30 years of service, right? She's like basically a general.
She served through the Sturgis stuff, through the end of the Lael rebellion, fighting against both Crix and Khador. She served through the full Infernal War, and now she's and it was supposed to be a temporary assignment while she was preparing to retire, and she was put in charge of the Gravediggers, and she's now the de facto leader.
Yeah, she's the colonel. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, 30 years, right? Like, it's a long history. She outranks Kain. How wild is that? I mean, Kane's probably not very reliable.
Well, Kain has he's been promoted and demoted like a dozen times. He left the army for a while and only came back after his daughter decided she wanted to serve.
Wow.
So
he's man.
Yeah.
Soldier in some ways. But
exactly.
That's crazy.
But yeah, she's interesting. And Bandit is just as interesting. Like, she negotiated with the Signar command when she was given her first post after her training, and she brought Bandit with her, which is unusual. She basically negotiated to take him with her, and they allowed it because of her situation. And so he's moved with her to every post, which most casters leave their jacks with the army that they are serving with and don't bring them to multiple battlefields and fronts and situations.
Yeah, no, it's
and things
super
like
weird,
that.
right? You don't get to take your tank with you when you change units, right? You don't get to take your artillery piece with you. You don't even get to take your gun with you usually. So yeah, I mean, that is that is strange, but I mean, I guess it shows the depth of their bond.
Right.
And to what extent are jacks do they have personalities? Are they sentient?
They have effectively they have intelligence of dogs, effectively.
Okay.
And there are some dogs that are super intelligent, and the longer their cortex is active and experiencing things, the smarter they get, and the more habits they develop. Especially if they're in the service of a specific warcaster for a long period of time, they learn how the warcaster fights and how they approach things, and they sort of blend themselves into the caster's thing, almost like a loyal dog would to its master. Which is interesting.
Yeah, I like that. Like a working horse or a working dog,
right.
That kind of analogy for what their intelligence is like.
That's sort of how sort of. Go ahead.
I mean, when the warcaster the warcaster doesn't mind control them though, right? But they give them commands and they're just sort of naturally very obedient.
So they
how that works.
They can mind control them in a way.
Okay.
So a caster can look through a jack's eyes and see through the jack's eyes.
Very cool.
They can empower them with their magic to tell the jack to do things, or they can even take control and be the guy and sort of stand off in the background and be the guy fighting. Some of them are even able to split their thoughts and be the warjack and themselves fighting on the battlefield separately at the same time. Like Nemo could do that for sure.
Okay. It's just supreme mental ability means he can juggle the two things at once.
Exactly. Rusk had a little bit of that, of the he wasn't doing the fine controlling of the Warjack, but he was controlling like 6 or 8 at the time, bombarding a wall and doing the aiming calculations and having them and mastering how they shot and where they shot to siege a thing, controlling all of them at the same time and giving orders to the soldiers around him. So there are casters that are powerful in that way. Some of them vary in how they do it, and how finely they control their jacks and things.
Man, I'm going to sound like I've never really thought about this before, but that's like why it's called focus, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's your ability to focus on many things at once. Like you split your attention.
Imbue a hit, imbue a damage roll, push them forward beyond the limits of that a coal furnace would normally allow, things like that, yeah.
Okay, so what's the implication if Bandit has been...
Okay, so Bandit had
turned on for 30 years.
His body basically was trash. Like, after fighting through 3 major wars and getting to post-Oblivion, his body was... The charger that he was in was broken. He'd basically been retired. And she would bring him out for, like, special missions or training exercises or to help a young journeyman learn control effectively. The Signaran military were developing new warjacks. The Striker and the Courser, and then the ones the Gravediggers have, the Patriot, and the whatever their heavy's called, I forget. And Darius, who is in charge of he's still around.
Okay.
He's the scientist, the head of the Jack construction department. He helped design the Courser and the Striker and the Patriot and all the different chassis for the new Signaran army. And once he finished doing that and sort of upping the level of technology to the current state where it was and getting the army and getting them starting to be produced, he had more free time to work on special projects like he used to do when he was Nemo's student and when he developed Thunderhead and some of those other things. And so he came up with this idea where a warjack doesn't necessarily have to be Jack doesn't necessarily have to be controlled by a warcaster. They can be controlled by a marshal that teaches them verbal commands, sort of like you would teach a dog, sit, stay, attack, etc. To sort of control them on the battlefield. And he thought, what if he could train a warjack cortex to do that and connect, because there was already some proof that the jacks interact with each other really, like an experienced jack interacts with a newer jack and sort of can push it forward and sort of lead. And so they came up with this cortex that they enhanced the ability to connect with other cortexes around it, and it was an utter failure. And Darius figured out.
And that was Bandit. That's
no.
Okay.
No. Well, so it's the genesis of Bandit, but it was an utter failure. And Darius finally figured it out. The reason that they kept failing was because the cortex that he had built the system into was a new cortex. It didn't have any experience on the battlefield. Didn't have any knowledge of how to move, how to act, how to work with the warcaster, work with other jacks around it, fight while looking at the battlefield and understood things. It didn't have any experience. And so he brought this problem to Jakes, and Jakes was like, can you take a really ancient cortex and upgrade it with this system? Because Bandit would be the ideal candidate for this because he has more experience than any other jack in our network. And Darius was like, I can try. And so with a lot of work and he was finally able to integrate this new sort of expanded cortex to the old Bandit cortex. And as soon as he tried it out, it worked flawlessly. Because Bandit has that much experience. He understands fighting the battlefield and other jacks around him and what they're doing and what they should be doing.
30 years, right?
Right, like, exactly. He's the old dog that's teaching the new dogs. Yeah, exactly, leading the new dogs on the battlefield effectively. And so Jake's immediately ordered a chassis to be built around him, and it had just become in vogue to build these 80 mil larger base warjacks, and so he's like the first off the assembly line of this style of new jack for the Signarin army, which I think is pretty cool. And then they gave him some high end new hammer.
They really upgraded the dude got yoked, right? He's from a little charger to
right. He's got an anti-aircraft gun that has 4 barrels, and yeah. Yeah, he's pretty cool, and he has the special rule on his card that's called. Let me open this up real quick. And I get to try him out tomorrow night for the first time, which should be interesting. So the ability is called the Vanguard Command Cortex. And it's what allows him to jack marshal other friendly warjacks within 8 inches of him. Now, the interesting thing about Gravedigger is that I should just mention for anyone that's thinking about it. Pretty much every solo and unit in the Gravedigger's army can jack marshal a jack, but none of them can start with them, including Bandit. And so they can only jack marshal the airdropped ones. When I first looked at Bandit, I was like, I could take one of their heavy jacks and put it on, start the game with it on him, and then add to it as I needed to, especially with Jake's synergy, because one of the other things that Bandit does is he allows
he lets them
Jake's spells and feats to affect them. They count as being part of her battle group for the purposes of spells and feats. So like they affect the synergy chain when they attack. When she feats, her feat gives she gives everything. So her stuff just affects all friendly faction models. But then if you look at somebody like
they'd benefit from like Escort, for example.
Yeah, they would benefit from Escort under Hasker, or Synergy for Jake's, or
Vargas's feat gives armor, or it used to.
It does. It still gives +3 armor. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm definitely planning to play him with him.
It's really nice, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like we're always trying to make jack marshalling work, and it's like such a cool thing in the Warmachine setting, but not really in like the tabletop game. And I think
it was in Mark 3.
Better to make it work than a jack.
It was 3? Yeah, they had there were 4 jack marshal abilities, and when jack marshaled a jack, they could use one of the 4 abilities every turn. So like when they got it to aim, it got bonuses to damage. When they ordered them to charge, it basically got a free extra attack after going in, so they could charge into melee, and they had a free secondary attack. So you were guaranteed as if you had bought another, it had focus on you to buy another attack. There were like 4 special abilities that would apply to a jack when it did a specific thing under a jack marshal that they took out of the game in Mark 4.
Oh man,
I ran jack marshals constantly. I even jack marshaled Behemoth back in Mark 3.
Yeah, I don't remember jack marshals ever happening in Mark 2, but I'm glad they saw us the light of day in Mark 3.
Yeah, they were.
Let's talk some
phenomenal.
Let's talk some Fane.
Okay. You want to talk some Fane fluff now?
Yeah. So they've released 3 stories.
Yeah,
one for each of the warcasters.
So
I'll start with Hysene. Well, tell me what you think. Yeah.
Can we start more generally? So, did you pick up on sort of the order of events that shaped the 3 casters and how they sort of shaped each one differently?
Maybe. Tell me what you're thinking.
So these 3 casters, so all 3 of these casters sort of were born into Ios after the gods came down and there was the apocalypse and they went to Ios. Yep. They traveled to Ios, but they all sort of grew up with the people that experienced that around them, and it shaped some of their lives. So like Hysene, for example, was a child of the Dawn Guard, and the Dawn Guard that protected the survivors of the cataclysm of the Elven Kingdom, and took them to what is now Ios, and many of them, except for the what's his name, Vorash,
Vorsalis. Yeah.
Vorsalis. Most of them experienced what it felt to like be around the gods, because the gods were with them. So like, Ashenel
Hysene loved Nero, right?
Yeah.
Like she loved Nero, that
and
she like
and
loved
chose
him
to
so much
became
that
and
she
like
would like spend time just sitting in the sun, right?
yeah,
And
she was trained as like she was like the most had the most awarded of the young Dawnguard, and instead of becoming a Dawnguard, she chose to join the Fane of Nyrro, and protect the god while he was still with their people. I mean,
yeah, and at this point, being a Fane was like the Fane were just like those were like the protectors, like the god's
right,
temple.
of the
nothing vampiric,
church.
It was just being devoted to Nero.
And then the gods left, and that was about when
Vorsalis joins slightly after the gods leave.
After the leave, and so he never experienced them, but the old priests had.
Yeah, and that like yearning for the gods is actually kind of what leads to the cult of Nero. That was my impression from Vorsalis.
And so which is interesting. So like, effectively, Hysene is a Dawnguard that goes and joins the Fane. Ashmel is he's a spy and an assassin for Lyro, the cult of Lyro, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Who after the Fane say Nyrro is back and come worship for us, they send him in to infiltrate the cult as a spy and figure out what's going on. Which is interesting.
Yep. Yeah, he wasn't originally part of the cult.
Yeah.
Right.
And Vorsalis is like he's one of the three youngsters that deposed the old priesthood that had sort of fallen off after the god had left, and created and it took me reading all three of the stories to sort of get to figure this out, but he sort of, they created the cult, they told people their god was back and got them to come worship and give them power effectively. They were the three that decided to do that. Though
yeah, can we talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about him. So I thought it was interesting.
I found this confusing.
Okay, go ahead.
So he forms a conspiracy with two other young priests, right?
Right.
I think maybe they call it a cabal.
Harasheth and Torius, the guy that was the leader of the Fane before him,
who has just recently died, right?
He was destroyed by then we'll get to this, but he was destroyed when Gearshield, the Lich, went back to Fane, grabbed a bunch of the Eldritch, and invaded and tried to kill Nisser and Syra. Syra just annihilated him.
Yep. Yeah, she sees his mind or something like that, and just he's gone.
She annihilated his existence, and Ashmael and Hysene were in the room. And infected both of them mightily.
Mightily, yes. So Vorsalis and Harasheth and Tyrios, they had a conspiracy. They're young priests,
right?
And they have a conspiracy to replace the senior priest of Fane, to overthrow them.
And they kill them in all kinds of horrible ways.
And my impression is that I mean, and I struggled with this from the text, but that Vorsalis is an actual priest of Nero. He really loves Nero, but he's never known Nero because Nero is gone.
Right.
And that the reason they try to depose the head priest is because they think that he's not trying hard enough to get Nero back, right? I think that was what you got out of it?
He becomes so the head priest sort of becomes detached, and he's lost, and so the other priests, elderly priests that are sort of ruling the group, just sort of ignore it and let it be, and their followers have all sort of the remainder of people that come to the Fane to pray are basically old people, or the basically their congregation is dying. And they see it as at first they're like just coming together to be like, well, eventually this guy's going to die, and the three of us will sort of support each other to help one of us become the new lead. And
they were very much like true believers, right? They thought, we're doing this for Nyrro, we're doing this for the Fane, this is the right thing to do.
But then over time it sort of corrupts. And I really do think that the corruption is sort of from Versailles.
Yeah.
Because it sort of corrupts, and they sort of are like, well, he's not dying, everything is getting worse, we have to take action. And I think that's why they kill horribly in some cases all the elderly priests. They like poison them, strangle them,
right?
Lock them and make them starve to death. Like, do horrible things to all the priests.
Which is like a little bit crazy given how Versailles is a true believer. He believes in Nyrro, like he believes in the priesthood. But I guess he's just like convinced that these older priests are corrupt and following the wrong paths. Well,
so that's the other
this horrible thing, and it leads him on this even more horrible path.
Right. So the three of them sort of become like the leaders, and they start doing things which I think is interesting, because this is all happening before Gear Shield. This is all happening before Gorshade created the war houses and was caught, and we're basically doing like Nazi-style tests on Solus. Like testing on Solus. Like, this all happens before that. And so Versailles and the other two leaders, so Versailles goes and he talks to Dawnguard, and he's like, hey, you're the other half of sort of the cult of Nisr. We should be allies and not sort of opposed to each other. And he works out like all of the disputes between the two. Yeah,
he like convinces them that the bad days are gone. You
right,
can trust
and you
us,
should turn your eye to something else. We're with you. We're on your side. We're the good guys. We'll support you in what you want to do. And in the background, they start doing horrible experiments trying to understand how the souls of the elves work and why
like
Solus are being born.
And separating their souls from their body and like watching them cross into the void.
And toying with them and seeing like what happens when horrible tests on their own people.
Yeah, and I guess having killed a bunch of old priests in horrible ways, they've kind of lost their moral compass.
Exactly.
And so they're still kind of single-mindedly interested in Nyrro, I think, in the void and these issues.
And but how to get him back or use his powers to help the people. Yeah, effectively, I think they're doing horrible things for, quote, near good reasons. I think it's still where their head is. But then, like, Versailles, in his research, he figures out how to, like, create an Eldritch from studying one of the other now deceased the god's followers' texts.
Yeah, and it's the goddess Aisla.
Yeah, and the goddess of death.
Because she's the Nisasir of night.
Right.
And death. And so, that's how you get vampires traditionally. Death or aligned, night aligned. Fane Nyrro is about the day, right? And
right. So the Fane of light, effectively.
Yeah, it's this night and death ritual that corrupts the light temple.
Yeah. So while they're doing all these horrible experiments, the junior priests under them are seeing this and are like, "What are you doing? You are corrupt." But they're not like, and they basically, anyone that's loud about it just disappears or gets killed. Probably by Ashmael. And we'll talk about how he comes into the story and intersects with things later, but it's probably by Ashmael. And so the Versailles gets basically jumped by a bunch of these junior priests and stabbed, and takes a mortal wound, like right
Which
before
is like
they
some
start.
real poetic justice,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
what he did to the last leaders, right?
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah. And so he escapes, and he makes it back to his like inner sanctum, and not seeing another choice, he performs this eldritch ritual on himself and becomes the first eldritch, which is really interesting.
And they clarify what an eldritch is, right?
Right.
Which I think is that
Yeah.
He removes
Binds
his
his
soul from his body,
and then binds it back into it.
and then he removes his soul from like its connection to the god, and then binds it
to his body. Yeah.
Yes. So these are like vampires with souls,
Yeah.
but they've interrupted the natural process of like, souls going to the
Right.
gods and the gods sending them back. That process later gets interrupted and creates a soulless, but it's this interesting like connection. They've sort of stopped it one step earlier.
Yep.
To create an eldritch.
Yep. And so a lot of the priesthood, including Harosheth and his other conspirator, are shocked by this. But right before they sort of go live with this Nyrro's back scheme to sort of bring themselves power, they sort of encourage him to go into the catacombs underneath that have been found underneath their Fane. Yeah, Airshell. And he sort of goes down there and scouts it out and creates his own little undead society. Which matters big time later
like
on.
The catacombs underneath their city.
Yeah.
Just like running around,
and
making some zombies.
He grabs some elves, ridiculous. He grabs some other people, he plays with their souls and figures out he can turn them into zombies. So he's just, they're called like the Shisheth. Is that, how would you pronounce that?
Yeah, the Shithis.
Shithis? Yeah. And so I read Ashmael's story first, and they talk about them, and I didn't know what they were. I was like, what are these things that they're talking about?
Yeah, I definitely, Versailles is definitely the one to read first. I mean,
right.
I also read it last, but
right.
It's definitely the one that makes the most sense if you're going to approach this head on.
His story definitely, and I think it's interesting because we still don't know a whole lot about the betrayal, them telling them that Nyrro is back. We don't know a whole lot about that situation. I think once we see Harosheth's Fluff, because him and the previous leader that was killed by Syra, are the two that sort of did that ran that ploy and gained that power. And so it should be interesting to see that more of that in his Fluff, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Though it is sad to see that Harosheth isn't actually Resheth from Skorne.
I know, right? I was super sad.
Nope.
I thought he was going to be Resheth reborn, like, Resheth's new...
Yeah. Though Skorne does come into play.
Connections to Skorne in here, but it's
there are actually connections to Skorne, but they're not what we were hoping for.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
So Versailles, he sort of creates this under society. Eventually, the ploy of the priesthood for Nyrro is uncovered, and they're forced to flee underground into this sort of kingdom that Versailles has made.
Yeah, the Dawn Guard come to attack.
Yeah,
and like,
do we want to?
This is the point where Hysene and
Ashmael sort of. Do we want to talk about them and get to this point, and then sort of talk about what happens after this with all of them together?
Yeah, I think we can try to weave them together. I think for Hysene, it's enough to say that like she is a true believer, a devotee of Nyrro.
Yeah.
She's in a very elite guard.
She's the leader of the Fane Guard. She joins them and becomes the lead, the Grand Master of the Fane of Nyrro.
That's right. And she has an issue, which is that she's also in love with Ashmael, or that she is his lover.
Right. Exactly.
So do you want to talk about Ashmael?
Yeah, so
how
Ashmael,
does he?
he was a spy and an assassin for the cult of Lyro, which is one of the other gods. And when they sort of started announcing that that Nyrro is back, they sent him to infiltrate the priesthood, and he got in really easily. He joined the priesthood and started gaining power. And he basically started he found out pretty quickly that this was a falsehood, but he didn't report it, and he just sort of kept playing along. And then he seems
like he required the least corruption.
Right.
He just seems like he was ready to go. He was
right.
Like,
well,
okay.
So it was right before he decided that he was going to tell people that this was a falsehood. The actual he was accidentally found out, and they basically were like, "Well, you could continue. You've been doing good work, and you seem to have connections to all sorts of people that we want to have connections to. You can continue to serve us and become a traitor to your cult, and we'll give you power, or we'll kill you right now." And so they didn't say we'll kill you right now, but that's what they implied. And so he decided to join them and cut off and even remove other spies and other sources from his old cult.
He's purging the network, right?
Right. He's purging the old network that had connections, so that the Fane he sort of became a member of the Fane right then.
He got, in spy terms, he got kind of flipped, right? He switched sides, and he's a little bit merciless. Yeah.
He became the student of I can't pronounce her name, but one of the inner Fane, the old Fane spy master.
Yeah, that's my one attempt at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so him and Hysene sort of started courting. They sort of, identified a similar sort of precision or feeling amongst each other, and became intimate secretly.
In my mind, he's just kind of working her as another source.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even sure I think she's into it, but
right.
I think he's just you're a useful person to have control of.
You're a useful tool.
He absolutely turns her against.
Right.
He makes her suspicious of the outside world. Right. He makes her suspicious of the Dawn Guard, and so when the Dawn Guard ultimately attack, suddenly she's on Team Fane.
Well,
which she's always kind of been, but
before that, the conspiracy is sort of found, and Ashmael's like, "Hey, you have connections with the Dawn Guard. Find out if they're going to attack, or when they're going to attack us." And so she sort of sends her, and this is what cements her as having to support them. And she goes out and she comes back and tells Ashmael, "Hey, they are going to attack you, and this is when it's coming." And so he takes that to the priesthood, and the priesthood's and tells them when they're attacking, and so they allow most of them to escape
down into the tunnels that Vorsalis has been preparing.
Right. And so Ashmael, Hysene, and Ashmael's spy master, Master,
Magreth. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Act as the
rear guard. Right?
The rear guard,
the last people out of the city.
The vanguard, or whatever it is, to fight off the Dawn Guard, and allow the priesthood and the followers to escape down into the catacombs. And for whatever reason, Ashmael's like, "Hey, I want power. Hysene, she's going to betray us. Kill her." And Hysene murders his master. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what, the text is it's not too clear about this, but to me this is the part where it's she's kind of acting on love. He's gotten her to do a couple of bad things now.
Right. And she's in and doesn't have a choice. It's what it feels like to me.
And she's just kind of she keeps getting in further and further. She's over her head and now she's full-fledged vampire at this point doing bad stuff. Like,
well, I mean, they're not vampires yet, but they basically she kills.
Right?
Yeah, she's on the route. She kills the master, and the two of them flee into the heart of the burning city and down to the catacombs before the Dawn Card can follow them effectively. Mm-hmm. And then they both immediately, once they get down there, are like, hey, we want to, there's other liches, let's become liches. And they sort of
let's become liches.
They
I love it.
Do a suicide pact together, but they become eldritches together. They help each other become eldritches, effectively. And then over time, they grow apart.
Fully part of the court
right.
of Nyrro. Yeah, they do grow apart. You have to wonder if she's like a little bit resentful, right, about the path that she's been led down. It's not like super clear to me that Ashmael was being very genuine. I mean, this is wild speculation, but I kind of read that into this.
They sort of like turn her into the master executioner, and so like she's this figurehead that sort of stands in the dark, and when discussion is over and the court of the priesthood can't make a truce with like one of the other eldritch or whoever else that they're dealing with, they send her to kill them.
Yeah.
And
I mean, she's the executioner.
Right.
Yeah.
And they reward the sword that she has, the big, huge, massive, like relic sword that she has, she gets after she becomes an eldritch, which I think is interesting. It's not the sword that she like got from the Dawn Guard or whatever. It's a weapon of Nyrro that they grant to her after she fulfills her role and proves that she's loyal to them.
Yeah, kind of continuing to bind her to the cult.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
She seems the most loosely connected to me. I mean, at this point, it's been 1,000 years, and she's clearly all in, right?
So so the interesting thing about that is that she's sort of connected because she feels like she's connected because she has to be, and if she had another choice, she would take it. But if you've so we'll get there, and there's a point where Syra and Nissa are killed, and the Vorsalis feels the change in Ios, and all the elves either dying or becoming eldritch as the wave of power from the death of the gods washes over them. And he's justified, and so then they form the cult of the Council of Dusk, which is the three houses of Dusk that have formed Nyrro,
Callus,
and I forget what the last one's called. What's the last one?
I don't know. They'll get a faction one day.
It's like
and we'll learn.
Raharad or something like that. And so the new sort of the followers of Gorshade and the some of the new liches that have started joining the Fane after they've become house, I think it's called Nyrro or Nyrid. I'll look it up in the fluff, but they've started following her. And so she's suddenly becoming, where she's always sort of been this lone figure in the background that there's like the ultimate punishment for the Fane. As soon as they have sort of come into the light and joined the Council of Dusk, she is now getting followers and becoming part of their leadership, which I think is really interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting, right? It's not, you don't really think of an executioner as a leader, right? But
right.
I guess she's developing her own cult. Like she is, I mean, she's portrayed as very like.
And it's not really even by choice. It sounded more like they're choosing to follow her, and she's sort of stepping into the light as a leader, not necessarily wanting to be a leader, which is interesting. And it's actually frustrating to Vorsalis.
Yeah. Who also doesn't seem like he wants to be a leader, or is a leader with a lot of anxiety and like. Issues and a lot of fear, right? Like,
right.
Maybe he wants to be the leader, but he's not. He's reluctant in some ways.
He doesn't want to be the face. Nyrith.
That's
House
right.
Nyrith is
that's dead. That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be the face.
Yeah. Fane of Nyrro is the old cult. House Nyrith is the council member. Council dust member. House Nyrith. All right. So they've gone to the catacombs. A lot of leadership become eldritches. Versailles has been converting people as they get old or die or want to become eldritch.
He's really well respected. He's not the leader, right?
He's not the leader.
He's like the one who has paved the way. Yeah. He inducts everyone into the eldritch lifestyle. It sounds like what a modern way to describe it.
Yeah. Tyros is the leader. He was the leader of the church above, and when they came below, he continued to be the leader. But Versailles is really sort of like the one that has. He's sort of like the dark master that from behind the throne, effectively, that runs things because he created the underworld and taught them how to make zombies and.
Yeah, he's like their spiritual core in some ways, right? Like this is what it is to be a vampire and like to be an eldritch, right?
And
Ashmael is like doing his own thing,
right?
Like, do you want to talk about that?
I think Ashmael is really interested in this section of time between when the gods are killed, but when they go into the catacombs and when the gods are killed. I think Ashmael has the most interesting part of it because he's the spy master, so he's still going to the surface. He's developing spies. What's the character unit for
the Clivenish?
The Clivenish.
Yeah.
So the Clivenish were living elves, and they actually worked for his master as spies and assassins amongst her people, her network. Mm-hmm. And so he brings them back under his control and eventually makes them eldritch, which I think is too bad because they look like bloodrunners to me, but they're not. They're
they? Yeah. I mean, they're clearly like
they're very they feel like they're Skorne assassins to me, and they're really not, which is really unfortunate.
Skorne. There's so many. They could have tied this into Skorne so much more. It's a shame.
There is some tie-in, but yeah. It's actually with Ashmael. So Ashmael is like getting.
He's the only person in Nyrro who's like out and about during Mark 2 and 3, right? Everybody else is like living in Labyrinth together, but Ashmael is like participating.
Yeah. He sees the early foundation, like the forming of the retribution around Syra. While Versailles is the one that predicts her coming back but Ashmael is the one that figures it out because he gets the reports about the priests that go nuts when all the gods are killed. And like how the priesthood like goes nuts and destroys some of the cities and things, and it was not as bad for Syra and so he's the one that sort of figures out that Syra is probably still alive and helps Versailles predict that she's going to come back.
Oh, wow. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, it's in Ashmael's story and Versailles' story. It's sort of cross.
Yeah, you really have to read all of them to get
right.
it.
I think
this conversation is making that more and more clear to me.
And I think Harosheth was the priest that was with Tyrus when they were pretending that Nyrro had returned. Mm-hmm. So he's the only one of the living priests that was there when they were sort of falsifying things and telling a story that their god had returned, and so they were bringing people in and claiming power and bringing. It was why Ashmael was sent to infiltrate their cult. So
when we get that piece of the story, we'll finally understand what happened with Nyrro.
Right, and we'll also see Versailles from the alternate, from the other side, because Harosheth has always been his like greatest adversary or his greatest rival,
right?
And Harosheth wanted to be in control, and when Tyrus was destroyed by Syra, there was a vote, and Harosheth was Versailles basically
the deciding vote.
So Versailles blamed him, got the people's support because he was the one who had created the under kingdom and has already sort of been the dark, the hand behind the throne kind of person. But also he's blamed Harosheth because he's the living, surviving lead priest that was with Gearshield when they insulted. I mean, Ashmael and Hysene were there, but neither one of them were trying to take power, and so he sort of put the blame for the whole situation and it failing so bad on Harosheth.
Which is maybe a little bit unfair,
yeah.
right? But
yeah.
They're vampires, right? They're scheming.
Yeah, but talking about Ashmael, so Ashmael, he's developing this network and spying on people and watching what the Ios is doing, and while talking to the priesthood and the members and sort of trying to convince them that it's not worth them becoming involved, and almost like stirring up trouble amongst them constantly, so they're constantly dealing with internal matters and not trying to come into what he sees as his dominion, which is the living half of Ios. And so, like,
which is an enormous dominion in our eyes, right? He's like, I don't care about our internal politics. I want to mess with the entire rest of the world. Like, that's very much his attitude.
He's watching and he sees the retribution of Cyrus starting to form, and he starts like poking at it and secretly helping or encouraging them along to create this institute within this group within Ios. And he's like he sees Gearshield and figures out what he's doing. And tells Versailles, and Versailles becomes interested and like sends him research information through Ashmael's network.
Yep.
And like info on the experiments that Versailles did back when he first became a lich.
Back when he was a young lich, right?
Well, yeah, young lich, and that Gorshade is like emulating. And then once the war of the houses happen, the Civil War of Houses happens, Ashmael's the one that like collects Gearshield and brings him into the Fane and gives him to Versailles. So he like secures his rescue and stops them from killing him, and he brings him down so that Versailles can make him a lich and try and like turn him into his apprentice.
Gorshade? Really? Gearshield? That's
Gearshield,
crazy.
yeah. So Gearshield does the horrible experiments that he does, and the Dawnguard come to kill him, and it's actually Ashmael's the one that like helps him escape and brings him to the Fane, and Versailles teaches him how to turn himself into a lich, and it's like, okay, you're my student now, I'm gonna teach you what I know, and you're going to become my like right hand man in the city of power. And Gorshade's like, nah, I'm going to go join Crix, and leaves.
I feel like these Crix guys are pretty cool, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then he ends up coming back too, right?
Right. So a lot of stuff happens. The retribution stirs up. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the Warmachine world. It's like Mark 1 and 2 effectively happen in the Warmachine world, and then when we get to the Mark 3 storyline, Gearshield decides that, or Gorshade decides that it's finally time to kill the gods. He's done working for Crix. It's time to come back to Ios, take over the Fane of Nyrro, twist them to what he wants to do, and go kill the gods is what he decides. And so him and a bunch of Bane Knights sneak into Ios the back way through like all the twisting gates and illusionary forests and stuff like that in the sort of the wilderness that surrounds Ios. And he knows the way in, so he comes to the Fane, talks to Tyrus and is like, hey, you're gonna help me. We're gonna end the gods and rebuild the Iosan people. And Versailles is like, nah, we shouldn't do this. He betrayed us before. He doesn't care about us. This is us, and we should kick him out again. And everyone and the rest of the Fane is like, no, it sounds like a good plan. It sounds like it's a good plan. He's knows how we're gonna get there. Let's do it.
Into weird soul stuff. We're into soul stuff.
So Vorsalis stays back, and Hysene, Ashmel, Harosheth, Tyrus, Gorshade, they all infiltrate the Fane of Syra. Hysene cuts through her Fane Knight guard, just like slashes through all of them, clears a path. They come into the chamber, and the gods are just there in front of them. And Gorshade's like, "Well, I'm going to kill you now." And Tyrus walks forward. This is what happens in the story. He walks forward and is going to like stab Syra, and Syra just sort of looks at him and goes, "You don't exist," and he disappears from existence right next to all of them, and they are all shocked.
Yeah,
it's actually in
Vorsalis really badly, right?
So Vorsalis isn't there. It affects Hysene. So Hysene is like standing right next to Terrace. She's about to cut down Nisser, and the leader of her cult is just obliterated like he never existed by the look of a god. And she is odd because she remembers Nyrro before the gods left, and she remembers his power, and she had forgotten it. And to see this god's power, she's like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." We stand no chance. And then Nisser sends all the liches except for Gorshade back to the Undercity. Just snaps his fingers, and they're all teleported back to the Undercity.
They're all back, right? Yeah.
Yep. And so they escape, with air quotes, with their lives. They could have been destroyed. And Gorshade is resurrected back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it affects all of them. Like, Ashmael is beside himself. And Vorsalis is sort of like, "Yeah, I told you."
I told you. Man, Gorshade is such an interesting character in this, too. You don't think he'll show up as a Fane Warlock, do you?
He's dead. He was
properly dead?
So in the Fluff, and this is as far as we know, in the Fluff, he's resurrected into a living body. And then Oblivion happens, and the Infernals invade, and Skorne invades Ios. And in those battlefields, a bunch of Skorne soldiers disappear in one of the woods that Ashmael happens to be sort of watching over.
Okay.
And so
it
just happened, and they get and it sounds like they get turned into zombies by Ashmael and Vorsalis. So that's sort of where some of the Skorne undead soldiery comes from. It sounds like
that's where the merciless come from.
Yeah, I think so.
Converts.
Yep.
From, that's Ashmael like inflicting his will upon the Skorne.
Right, and Ashmael and Vorsalis, yeah. So and then they join sides, and Gorshade and Hexeris become buddy-buddy. And they start basically doing Gorshade's old experiments, but on an Infernal Master that they capture.
Yeah, and Hexeris has been interested in soul experiments for a long time, right?
Right.
He's not the worst, the most like heretical of the Skorne casters.
Right.
But yeah, he's been very interested in mortithurgy and the soul, and
yeah. And so he sort of teaches Gorshade about Skorne mortithurgy, and Gorshade sort of teaches him a little bit about their connection to the soul and their gods and things like that. And then, they play with this Infernal Master for a while. Eventually, the Infernal Master escapes. And the battles happen. And then, at some point, Gearshield figures out that if he takes this relic of one of the other gods, it's basically a mantle. And I don't think it's the same mantle that Ashmael has.
I was going to say Ashmael has a mantle.
Yeah. Ashmael has a mantle. He has the mantle of Nyrro, but I think it's the god of death, the one that Versailles creates the
Nissus,
I think he has her mantle, and he puts it on and uses it to fuse himself with a Void Archon. And so he basically becomes a demigod, effectively. He's fuses with an angel. The spirit of an angel. And that scares the crap out of the Living Council. And the reason it scares the crap out of the Living Council is because when elves or Ios and elves die in battle around him, instead of dying, they come back as eldritch. And so he's like building this mini army of elves that have died in battle that have become eldritch, and when they're around him, so he becomes like a portal to make elves eldritch before the gods are killed.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, including one of the caster that was a journeyman war caster that became a caster. She died and became an eldritch. So that caster's name is Alara, that died next to Gorshade. And she was the journeyman from the video game that became a warcaster. Alara, Death Shadow. She was sort of like an assassin. And so she actually died fighting with Gorshade and became an eldritch in his control, in his circle. Because he was
Death Archon thing.
Because he was his Death Archon thing, yeah. So a bunch of the eldritch, the elves that died around him would rise and become eldritch, especially the powerful ones like Alara. And she's matters. So after Oblivion happens, and Gorshade goes nuts and is like, I've learned everything I need from the Skorne. Let's kick them out, and they kick them out. And send them back fleeing back into the Skorne Kingdom. The Council of Elders of Ios is like, he's a Gorshade, you're a problem. We can't let this abomination sort of continue to gain power amongst us. And so they send it's Felsyr, the Merciless. She's an Elaware. She's the Mark III Elaware caster. That's like an executioner.
Yeah, she joined in the time when I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So she's the Ice King Taylor's favorite caster from Red.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so they sent her to kill him, and she succeeds. It almost kills her. And she succeeds, and he's dead. And because of this, Alara and his followers get pissed off, and are like, he saved our lives. He created it. He saved us from dying and disappearing into the void, and brought us back and made us eldritch. So we owe him everything. And so they're the ones that snuck into the Fane of Nyrro and killed Syra and Nisser.
Wow. Okay, so it's like a revenge thing for them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I would not be surprised if Alara shows back up somewhere in Dusk at some point. Very likely. And they don't say her name in High Scene story, but I really feel like, because they mention the Eldritch that followed Gorshade choosing to follow High Scene once they joined House Nyrith.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if Alara pops up somewhere as like one of High Scene subordinates.
Like a super solo or like a journeyman or something, right?
Yeah, or something. I mean, or even just in the fluff, like we see her as like an emissary of High Scene in some situation. Or in the background as one of her guards or something. I mean, she's the one that killed Syra. So maybe she doesn't have a public face anymore or whatever, or it could have killed her, we don't know. But she's the one that actually killed Syra. Yeah. And then there's a character solo from...
all the elven gods are dead. That there's like one or two that are left alive?
No. It was right? So Syra and Nisser were the two that were left alive. All the rest of them were killed. So spoiler alert.
Yeah.
If you don't want to hear this and you're trying to read the Mark III fluff and you don't want to know what happened to the elven gods, turn your microphone off for 5 minutes, or skip to 5 minutes from now. Okay, warnings off. So, the retribution of Sire blamed human mages because they gained power and started and became a thing. The arcane mages in the human population didn't exist until a few years after the I forget the technical name, but basically when their priesthood went mad and killed a bunch of people in a couple cities, like burnt to the ground in Ios.
Yep.
There was like a night where like all the priesthoods went insane, and in the fluff for the Oblivion, it came out that Thamar did indeed make a pact with the Nerukian Order, the Infernals. And
yeah, I mean, she gave like the gift of magic to
and
humanity.
Part of the payment, I mean, one of the payment was 2/3 of all living human souls that was promised. But another piece of the payment was she helped the Infernals break into the inner sanctum where so the gods, the elven gods, had figured out a way to get to their heaven, effectively. Get back into their section of, which is separated from where the humans and the Grimkin and stuff are in Ursaean. They had figured out how to sort of cross this pass that sort of goes over the void and get back to their kingdom. And Thamar knew that this was going to happen and that they were going to try and do this, and told the infernal gods where they would be in trying to do this. And the infernal gods ambushed the elven gods.
Wow.
And killed all of them except for Nisr and Syra. And devoured them and turned them into their and used them.
That's why humanity has magic. It's because
because Thamar made this pact, and the infernal gods gave humans arcane magic, which is what allowed them to create cortexes, fight the Orgoth, and force the Orgoth to leave in the fluff.
Wild.
So it was always suspected that she did this, and that was the rumor that she did this, but it was never confirmed until Oblivion.
Yeah.
And so Nisr and Syra are the only two that were alive, and they were killed by Gorshade's followers in revenge for the Council of Elves having Gearshield killed by their assassin.
Man.
Yeah. Pretty messed up.
It is pretty messed up. The Fane fluff, and honestly, the Iosian fluff is so cool, and I never really engaged with it before. I don't know. I never really like elves, right? But this, it's so interesting, and it's such a cool counterplate to the, World War I or World War II style, like Khador and Lael and Signar fluff, right?
Yeah. So I have to say that comparing the Fane of Nyrro fluff to the House Kalis fluff, because I read all the House Kalis fluff when it came out, it is so much more interesting and so much more dynamic, and you see how they sort of are fighting amongst themselves for power, but at the same time there's some interaction with what's sort of happened in the old story and how they sort of guided. Because the fluff, when they came out, they sort of told us that there's sort of this guiding hand that's been sort of doing things and have always been in the background, and sort of the ruling power behind a lot of the events in the Iron Kingdoms for the last X amount of years, but we didn't know anything about them until recently. And they really show you hey, we helped them do this, or hey, we helped the Retribution see this, or hey, they gave Gorshade research that drove him to become Gearshield, to become the Gorshade within Crix, or all these things, these major events sort of happen in the background. It all sort of comes down to these couple of Fane casters and how they sort of tweaked or pushed society over the years. And I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's like it feels like they've been there all along.
Right.
Like really behind the shadows, right? They're really interwoven into it, even though we
Right.
haven't seen them at all.
Right.
And the characters are complex. Like
Yeah.
I think they have interesting motivations. And you get it from a pretty short story, which I think is cool.
And the other cool thing is that there's a lot of, and you sort of have to read them all to sort of get the pieces of this, but there's some the House Nyrith is sort of like Ashmael's thing. It's not so. Versailles didn't want it. He didn't want to come into the light. He wanted to sort of continue to rule his little kingdom underground and ignore what was happening above ground. And Ashmael sort of like went and talked with the other two houses and created House Nyrith, and then told Versailles about it.
Hey, you're part of this thing, right?
He's like, hey, we're part of this council,
really
and we need to
scheme. Like you can just feel it. Like he's Versailles is like happy to lead his flock, and Ashmael's like, no, we're getting out, we're gonna go join the big boys. Like, we're part
and
of
then
this.
like Hysene has sort of been this like lone figure, like ultimate punishment within Fane, like Versailles' like weapon of, okay, you don't agree with me, I get you will never agree with me, you're dead. Sort of thing in the background.
From her that like she's a little bit reluctant to do this, but she's like kind of so bitter about the things that she's done that she's still like engaging in this, and like
Nyrith has
makes her like the most savage of all of them in some ways.
But then Nyrith has allowed her to sort of come into the light, and she's gotten to fight in actual battles like she did when she was with the Dawn Guard and with the Fane Knights, and lead soldiers on the battlefield, and she's loving it. And she's like learning how to tweak. She's learned that she doesn't like just like killing something and eating their soul to sort of survive. She likes to sort of play with it a little bit in the battles that she's been having, and get them to doubt, like get that seasoning of doubt of their feelings before killing them, so that she gets that extra flavor to the soul that she sucks in to survive. I mean, little things like that are really cool aspects to this story, and seeing how Hysene has sort of like emerged from her shell and is becoming a leader within House Nyrith is really interesting. But at the same time, like
she's almost found her purpose again.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Having sort of lost it and spending a long time just like as a cat's paw for the high priest.
And then Versailles is interesting too, because he is there. A lot of the other, like Harasheth and some of the other Eldritch, are pushing him to like unleash their armies and go take, like basically push the other Council of Dusk leaders out and take over Dusk, the new Kingdom of Dusk, and really like just sort of like make it theirs. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, I don't want to do that. I'm good in my sort of role in the background, but when push comes to shove, he does things. And so it's interesting to see how there's like some of them that are embracing the ability to come to the surface again and leading and expanding out into the world, while some of them are sort of still like, well, I really liked my little circle of power down here. Why don't we just stay down here? But can't. So yeah. I really enjoyed their fluff, and I think while I enjoy the little like the tidbits of information we get in stories like Bandits or stories like Old One Eyes, I really enjoy the sort of almost kingdom building that they've been doing with the Fane story so far.
And it's really fun to get to read a story like this. Like, it's from the characters' perspectives, but it's well done, and you can kind of knit them all together to figure out what's actually going on with the kingdom. And it's a lot of like, show me, don't, it's not like reading a book of like, and this happened and then this happened and then it's been a real success for me.
I think so as well. I'm really interested to see, we've seen the new cavalry caster, the 80 mil, and we'll see what kind of fluff and sort of story she brings. She hasn't really been in the story at all. Harasheth is in all of their fluff, and so he's like the other priest, and so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the story that we've seen so far.
Yeah, he's like kind of the outsider, another plotter. Yeah. Like, I can't wait to see him. My favorite sculpt. So,
well, yeah.
Maybe he'll have a connection to actual Rasheth, but probably
not. But then normally, after they've sort of released all these hero stories, they do 2 more stories. They do a Forces of, where they sort of talk about the army as a whole, and sort of there's some fluff, but most of it is sort of like in ties to the different units and why they're fielded the way they are and what their traditions are and things like that. But it's sort of shorter, and then they do an armies of where we might get where it's less fluff and more like the history of the army from start to finish, and sort of like how it was created. And it's a little drier, but I think it'll taking the 5 caster stories, which hopefully there's 5 caster stories, and then those 2 other articles that once they come out, I think they could give us a really good look at who the Fane are and how they've influenced things. And sort of tell that narrative, which a lot of the other armies I feel like don't. Maybe I just haven't read enough of the caster stories, but for the couple that I have read, most of them are like, well, they've always sort of been there, and they've only started, but then in the last X
they're
little
always
bit,
kind of doing stuff,
and they've been serving in the military since, for forever, but they only really became notable in the last 2 years, and this is why they're notable.
Yeah, I mean, it's partly it's a subject matter, right?
Right.
I'm a vampire. I've been here for 1,000 years. There's a lot of interesting things in that. And, I'm a new captain in the Gravediggers. It's just
Right.
It's not the same. It's different levels.
Right. So hopefully the story development starts taking this route more and more as we go on as more armies come out. But I've really been enjoying Fane, and I'm glad you sort of pushed me to read them, because I had sort of written off reading the hero stories altogether.
Yeah, me too.
Recently.
It was just kind of a whim, but turned out great. I can't wait for
really good.
And the 80 mil. Yeah.
Right. So, are you looking forward? So, tell me what you're rounding up on finishing your Brinebloods. Do you have a future plan? Are you going to sit back on your laurels for a while and play Brinebloods? Because I know, we had talked about you getting into Fane before you moved to Nova, and now that's all that people are playing, and so that's not really what you want to do, probably.
I think Fane are really cool.
Right.
I
think you could do really cool
things. Really have
things.
Special snowflake syndrome, and so it's real hard for me to want to pick up a faction that's
played everywhere,
very popular, and also probably quite strong. But even at that, I could see him happening at some point in my future. I think my plan is I got about 10 models to paint for Brines. I'm gonna finish them off. Probably keep playing him for a while. I'm gonna paint some terrain and then kind of, see where I feel.
Mm-hmm. Menoth will be coming out right about there.
Man, could I be a Menoth player? Maybe.
No.
I don't know. That sounds weird. It just doesn't fit.
I don't think so.
Fane is still the one that appeals the most to me of all the Mark IV casters, so maybe I'll get over myself and just pick them up, right?
Well, I mean, Menoth will have come out, and all the snowflakes will have switched to the new faction. I mean, come on.
Everyone will have jumped over to Menoth, maybe. Maybe there'll be something really cool in Menoth that really lights my fire. I don't know.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm really hoping that there's just something awesome that they've sort of been keeping in the back. I was a big Menoth player previously. I mean, to be honest,
I've seen your Menoth. You've got a lot of Menoth.
Yeah. I sort of gave him a twist on the narrative of them to sort of make them into an army I really wanted to play. And I'll be honest, I think the most fun I've had with them is when you could play them as tied in with Infernals. I really enjoyed playing Fiora with Infernals.
I missed that part.
It was really
game.
fun.
That sounds dirty.
It was really fun. I miss that aspect of being able to mix flavors of armies. But that was a thing that happened in sort of late Mark III that a lot of people didn't like, but I liked it because I had all those armies already, and I was building an Infernals army, so I could mix and match.
Yeah, I mean, if you got them right, I bet that's incredible.
Yeah,
the fluff and the crossover is probably really cool too.
I mean, it was what if fluff effectively, but yeah.
Shall we call it?
Yeah, I think we sort of talked this out, and I don't think we have the energy left in us to talk about the new Fane stuff. It is bonkers. and it is something we will absolutely talk about in the near future. Probably in the next
Versailles
cast.
seems really fun to play and real not fun to play against. Like,
I can't see the why I would ever want to face him. And I know I'll have to accept it at some point, but like he just feels like he makes me not want to play the game. Like everything he does is making my army worse and making me not want to play the game. I didn't miss Control. I did not. Like I didn't miss Haley 2 and 3. I didn't miss Vale from Legion of Everblight, and he is straight up out of the like
or Saren.
Saren. Like I didn't miss any of that. And that hasn't really been in Mark IV. And the fact that they're bringing it back in a big way with him and talking about how it's going to be a thing that they add back into the game over the next couple of armies, I'm really not looking forward to it. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of why I sort of jumped ship immediately.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
I wish I could disagree with you. Like, I mean, I don't know how good Versailles will be, right? But
so
it's hard to say until you play into him. But it's just it seems like it might be a pretty bad time. Like even if you win.
So they talked a little bit about. So just to wrap up before we wrap up, in the Q&A and in the stream on Tuesday, they talked a little bit about gameplay with the new models and how they sort of interact with some of the models that have already been released previously. And they talked a lot about Versailles and how he basically like he's the one that's making the opponent's army not be able to kill your stuff. And it comes down to the other stuff in the army. He's the one that starts controlling the enemy army and stopping them from scoring and stopping them from basically making them not be able to kill your stuff. And it's your other stuff that has to be able to do the work. And that's the thing that with the other two Fane casters, the army doesn't really do that. And so it's figuring out, like, one of the reasons the second character beast is the way it is like an actual war beast. It hits hard. It has good attacks. It has good armor. It's survivable, and it acts more like a traditional war beast compared to the other Fane bats. Is because he needs a piece that can punch and hit hard and do damage, where he's not going to be doing. He's going to be controlling and nerfing the enemy army. He's not really the one that's going to be doing damage.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely his. He doesn't force multiply at all,
right?
But he does let you shape the battlefield a lot.
Exactly.
But you got to wonder this actual war beast. The other casters can take it too. So.
Right. Exactly. All right. I think we sort of talked out things. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us ramble. I think I had fun talking about Fluff, and I think it's something that we should, as an army is coming out, or as time goes on, I think it's something we should do more of.
I think so too. I really enjoyed it. I love getting into this part of the game.
I definitely think that we need to sort of be focusing more on, like, let's talk about an army this week, or let's talk about this list or this strategy, and sort of build what we had last year, where we're sort of talking about specific army sort of releases and things. Into the cast some more again. We've sort of been sort of on a rambly, but I also think that taking a break and talking about Fluff, talking about what we're doing, is also really interesting as well. And I think we should explore this more, especially once Alec is back, because he loves this stuff.
Oh, he does love this stuff. It'll be fun to do some more of these when he gets back.
Yeah, and when the Menoth stuff starts trickling in, I mean, I'm sure that's all we're going to talk about it sounds like from November to January is like their main release window. They thought they started in October, but recently they mentioned them in November, so as the first was when they're going to come out, so I don't know.
I can't wait. It'll be fun. It's always fun to see Alec.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. You can check us out on all of our social media. Talk to us. Let us know. Did this cast sound better? did.
Yeah, how did my mic
Joe
work?
getting a
Did I do
microphone.
better or worse job? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And we'll definitely hope to have Alec back for next time. If not, he'll definitely be back in the near future. Thank you very much for tuning in. Joe, do you have anything else you want to say to the people, the listeners?
no, it was a pleasure, Jay. Enjoyed chatting with you.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Later.
Bye. Bye.
Oh yeah, that's the Alec thing. You did it. Good job. Good impersonation.